Hi everyone, Michelle here, and we're in the office here at Bikram Yoga San Jose, and I'm sitting next to the renowned and established, lovely, charismatic, I'm sorry I had to do that, Craig Villani.
I apologize for flattering me.
We just did a 3-day teacher intensive, amazing workshop on connection, which I want to dive into, but before that, maybe many of you don't know Craig Villani, so I think it would be wise to talk a little bit about your history. Because we all know you with Bikram Yoga, and many of you may not know, but he was director of training 16 times. But where are you from? Where are your roots?
Jersey.
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 He's a Jersey boy.
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey, and then I wound up going to school in the South, in Atlanta. Which was a bit of a culture shock, and I learned a lot.
I
Loved the South. And then I moved to Los Angeles around the beginning of 1994. I moved to LA to be a rock star. Still working on it. And I wound up becoming a yoga teacher.
Okay, interesting. So
Yeah.
go to LA to, be in Hollywood and that kind of scene.
The yoga, the rock star fantasy,
Yeah.
which meant basically translated to being a bartender for a few years.
Right, right.
You're an actor. What restaurant?
Exactly. Yeah. I remember that at Ilfrenial too. We hired actors, right? That's what
Yeah.
happened. But how did that segue into yoga? Like what? I'm sure. Yeah. How did that start?
I've always been physically active, playing sports since I was a kid, and then after college, I was just in training martial arts and lifting weights. I was in the gym a lot. I had done that for training since I was a kid, and I just got really tired of it. And at the time, my closest friend's girlfriend knew this and invited me to come to a yoga class. I had heard the little whisperings in Los Angeles about yoga popping up at gyms, like there was a thing here. It was just starting to come into the consciousness. And being in the gym, and there was a yoga class upstairs, and I was like, what's that all about?
Wow.
So she invited me to come to a yoga class, said there's this Indian yoga master, maybe the only one like in California, I don't know, that teaches, and I go to this class every Sunday with my agent, and you should come with us. Very typical LA story. And she said, I remember this now, she said, it's really hot, it's really hard. Whenever I go, I think of you, I really think you'll like it. And I had a lot of respect for her.
Yeah.
As far as she worked out, she was very smart, very cool, and I thought it'd be fun to go.
Yeah.
Why not? Take a shot. And I thought, how hard could it be? me in a room of about 50, 60 women, and 2 dudes in Speedos, and I got my spiritual butt kicked all over that room, and I just. It's the male ego that basically kept me in that room and in yoga. That's what kept me in the room, was that I wasn't going to leave, I wasn't going to cry, I wasn't going to go down. And I was going to survive this thing even if I passed out. And after it was over, as so many of us have shared with each other, it was just something I knew I had to do.
Wow. Even after that first class.
Well, especially after that first class was such a challenge. Yeah. Because I had, physical challenge, or what I perceived to be physical challenge at the time, played such a huge role in my life. And again, that really well-developed male ego kind of checked me on that.
Yeah.
It was an interesting tension to deal with, and I just knew I had to do it. And it was much more interesting than the gym. So I started going, and within about 2 weeks I was going by myself, and I went every day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I knew I needed it. And about 9 months into my daily practice, I was invited to take the teacher training, which, in traditional martial arts, you're waiting 4 or 5 years before you're actually instructing minimum.
Yeah.
So I thought as an Eastern modality it would be a similar time frame, but I was invited by my teacher to do that. So I took the training, and I had no intention of teaching. I really didn't. A conscious intention of not. I just figured, how big can this stuff get?
Right,
it was a tiki thing. It's really hard. Who's going to do this?
And your efforts were still the rock star.
Well, and I just figured, even if I moved from Los Angeles, which was at the time the intention, and I'm in LA now, was that I would be able to practice yoga on my own. And that was always my philosophy, right? So I took the training to learn more about the practice and be able to become, self-sufficient. And stepping out, I also rationally considered that once I had invested in the training, I would have free yoga for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pay. That was kind of the
Yeah.
rationale for doing it. Then when I stepped up and taught my first couple of classes, it was magic.
Wow.
You know.
So what year was training?
I trained in 99.
99.
Summer of 99.
Summer of 99. And where was that at?
That was in Beverly Hills on the Robertson and Wilshire School.
And how many were in your training?
We graduated, including me, 49 people.
49, wow.
And it was interesting room because at the time everybody was still using carpet, and the carpet in the room, I believe, was handed down to Mr. Chowdhury from Patanjali.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like a couple thousand years old carpet. And we practiced on baby crib.
Sacred though.
We practiced on baby crib liners because I don't even know if there were yoga mats, frayed white baby crib liners. And the heaters were in the room. You know, the roof-mounted heaters
Oh yeah,
in the room.
the ones that hang down and make all the
there
noise.
were no thermostats, so it was like, okay, 105 or 250, we had no idea. We all survived.
Wow.
And then when I graduated from training, I started teaching, and it was just, I loved it.
Wow.
I loved it. And
Something told you,
Yeah.
you know, that person who got you in the room, how fortuitous that you listened to that.
Yeah.
So tell us, because I know, but tell us, you know, then shortly after you're teaching like 2030 and then quickly grew from there to...
Well, I got tapped to teach Saturday classes within about, I think, 6 weeks. It was
Wow.
just, you know, a good test for a young teacher, and there were maybe 80 people in those
Yeah.
classes.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the next training came up about 2 months after I graduated, and I jumped into that. I really wanted to be involved. So, in whatever capacity. And I was teaching some of those classes, and then the next training happened, and then a year after I graduated, that's when the equation just shifted, and we went from my training, which graduated 49, to this training in 2000 that had 210 people signed up for it.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 weeks before the training, I got tapped, and almost as a non sequitur in a conversation, was told, like, by the way, you're in charge. I was like, oh, what? So training. So
Is there a manual?
One-year-old teacher, you know, the largest teacher training in the world, you're going to do this. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And that was teaching with the regular
Boy
students.
from Jersey, right?
With the regular students, it was teaching roughly 250 people, which is a huge number, and there was no textbook on that, so it just jumped in. What did I know, you know? And then I loved it, and I didn't know how long that would last, and it wound up lasting 8 years, and I believe 17 trainings. I didn't really count that stuff. I had to do it for something. Yeah, and then there came a point at which I had to step away.
Yeah.
And I was grateful
Yeah.
for all that I had learned, and
Yeah.
had tremendous respect for the work that Mr. Chowdhury has done.
Yeah.
And
you hold it that way. It's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll always be grateful for that work and that opportunity,
Yeah.
and for the introduction to this beautiful thing of ours.
Yeah.
And then I continued to help out with the trainings, and then I had to step away from that.
Yeah.
So then, you know.
But you got, that
Yeah.
was your bedrock, right? That was
Absolutely.
your, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what a unique
And
opportunity.
however it happened, it was your time.
Yeah,
You know,
for
interestingly
sure.
that you say 17. I mean, I opened 17 restaurants,
Yeah.
and then it was my time. That's always been my...
Magic gestation.
Yeah, isn't that
period
funny?
number.
And then
Yeah.
here we're gonna be 17 years old. Isn't that weird? I just got goosies.
See? I was born on November 17th.
Oh, this is getting. Whew, the forces are with us, right? Which is true.
Yeah.
The forces are with you. So, just a little bit. Then your interim before we dive into where you are now is
Yeah.
you did those retreats for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, starting early
Yeah.
on, I mean, running around town, I mean, all the yoga teachers know, it's not, we don't start teaching yoga because we're dreaming of the big bucks. It's because
Yeah.
we love what we do.
Right.
And, I mean, I feel like in all modalities throughout our Western society, the teachers are terribly undervalued and underpaid. I feel like it's one of the
Right.
most essential vocations.
Absolutely.
And not just patting, not just
No.
the people that I work with, my friends and my peers, it's like are just some of the best people in the world.
Yeah.
They're actually
Yeah.
motivating such a positive change, a transformation in the fabric of our reality and our world. It's like, anyway.
You listening to that, teachers?
Yeah.
Your value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
retreats, just that little bit.
I started doing seminars and then worked at retreats and was doing
because I saw you in Berkeley a few times when you were doing the seminars with Karima and
that started early, like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
That's basically what helped me survive and success.
Sure,
was traveling a lot outside of training and just doing a lot of those seminars, and then it worked in the retreats.
Okay.
And then those kind of faded, and I did a lot of work with. I've always worked with, since I graduated from training, very fortunately, worked with instructors or those who are working to become instructors. So working with teachers. As I mentioned to you before, that if I have to categorize the two categories of students that I really prefer working with are beginners and instructors. And in between is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just like, what greater honor is there than to introduce someone on this path and to hold the door
100%.
open for them and invite them to come in. And then, of course, working with teachers, it's exciting because you can shift to the higher gears.
Yes.
And also, we know that working with teachers, that the influence we may have with them is now ripples that carry forth.
Totally.
So there's something very satisfying about that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I just love working with teachers. I love working with my peers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We have a gift for that, for sure.
So I did about 3 years of just straight postgraduate education with teachers, like a 3-day teacher thing, and then
okay.
Yeah, and then I didn't know where I was going to take it. I figured I was going to develop a program for educating teachers further, and then I woke up one day and realized that I needed to do a primary training, which I never really thought I would ever do again after all those years.
So that moment and where you knew you had to leave, what kind of time?
7, 8 years between that. Yeah.
You know, and we didn't really talk about this, but I think what's important to mention is there's a lot of people out there that have hopes and dreams. It's that patience thing again.
Yeah.
And you know, it takes a while for things to crystallize, but you can't stop, right? Sometimes, you know, where you're going isn't revealed, but look at you hung on, you know, you did what was in front of you, you know, the grind and then here you are, right? It took 7, 8 years. I mean, I tell people that too, you know, they think I crystallized a yoga studio, but, you know, I left Il Fornaio and didn't open this for 3 years, and I didn't know I was, you know, so.
Well, I mean, really what that taps into, Michelle, for me is this is someone, you know, you're talking to somebody and you know this, we've known each other for a long time, that has led through most of their lives with their head, the thinking, the cognition, judgment.
Yeah.
And what has started happening that I can look back now and feel into and understand is I was following my heart. And that's the most liberating thing. Now it's becoming more conscious. Now is becoming more conscious. And in specifically the last couple of years. And it's you know, it's quantum now. The transformation between leading so much with the head and feeling what feels right and good and true and beautiful, and then following that feeling is everything. You know, and that's really the whole connection idea that we were talking about.
And one of the things that you do so well is like you bring some language to how we can drop into our hearts and lead from there. So I want to go there, but tell a little bit about, I don't even want to say the name, I want you to say the name. Your Raja Academy. How did that name come to be? And you know, that moment you woke up and you knew, and you put so much respect into how you were going to do it, which I appreciate, because you even called me, which I remember was very honored by that.
I called the people who, there's a lot of people in this life that I have respect for. You're up there, so I appreciate it was important to check in with my peers that I respect and have worked with, and to get reflection, and to, I mean, one of my love languages is affirmation, so, you know, getting affirmation is always nice. Just to check in and see, you know, to feel it. I had already made the decision. It was just I wanted to go through this. Years ago, I'll make it a quick story. I came out of teaching. It was during a training, and one of my mentors is a woman named Cindy Kaufman, who was teaching for many years before I stepped into the program.
I see.
And she was kind of like a confidant, a Roshi for me. I'd sat down and I remember saying to her, I'm like, Cindy, I don't know if this is like 5 years into teaching
I see.
and training.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, you know, same postures every day, you know, in a hot room, blah, 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 blah. I just had one of those moments. And she looked at me and she said, what kind of yogi are you? And I felt my space was like, this is being confrontational, like testing me. I'm like, what do you mean? What kind of yogi am I? She goes, well, are you a hatha yogi? Are you a raja yogi? Are you a karma yogi? Are you a bhakti yogi? I mean, what are you?
I see.
And at that moment, without thinking about it, raja yogi, that stuck.
Yeah.
It felt right.
Yeah.
You know, even though at the time I really had, classically you think Raja Yogi is delving into the sutras and it's all about meditation, which as I've come to understand now, the meditative aspect is so essential.
Yeah.
What we call Hatha Yoga is relatively new in comparison to what the concept and philosophy of yoga sustains. So it was developed as basically a science to enable humans to sit in relative stillness and self-reflect and concentrate, look inward. So the idea now, and finally after all these years, I've settled into a very potent and rewarding meditation practice that is the focal point of my self-reflection and development. Without the physical yoga, it wouldn't be complete. The two complement each other so well.
Yeah.
And Raja Yoga Academy was just, I see the evolution of what we're doing, not discarding. It's really integrating what we're doing beyond just a cult of asana. And asana is really important. And asana fascinates me, and it's essential to our practice. There's so much more. And that's just a stepping stone. It's a vehicle and a tool for self-reflection and self-realization. That's the path we're all on as yogis, by definition.
Yeah, a period, end of sentence. That's the path we're on, right? Yeah. So stay with that, because that brings me to that fabulous comment you made a few days ago about how there's a lot of transforming modalities out there, but there are very few that bring in the physical body, which the yoga does, and that is, and when it's done with the physical body, it tends to have an impact. And remember, we're teaching, this beginning yoga, which is available to all of you out there, right? But you're saying, it's a tool, to access, again, what you're talking about, which is the Raja aspect, which is the sense of stillness, which again is the sense of connection, and that, realized self.
Yeah, I mean, classically, I'm a guy from Jersey, so I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. However, Raj, that meaning is ruler. So queen, king, emperor, empress, mind, the mind that controls and the body and connects. It's the connecting vehicle.
Yeah.
This is the essence. This is the center. This is the conduit. This is the connection to all, to the divine, to light, to love, to truth. And the mind is what allows it, enables it to shape and connect with an interface of what we call other in reality. Yeah. Right? So the Raj aspect is giving, shedding light on, bringing awareness to the mind. And it's been interesting because I love learning and researching, and YouTube's just this great tool.
Yes.
And I've been digging into some of the oldest videos that exist of some of these incredible yogis from 100 years, well, however long ago there was video. And what I'm hearing consistently is that Hatha Yoga is about the mind, right? Yeah. For me, it's always been that, because we use the physical body as a primary vehicle for self-observation and potential transformation that enables us to familiarize ourselves with a frequency, a pattern, a wavelength, a roadmap, if you will, of patterns, through which now we come to understand, and we can almost overlay that physical, we'll call it, roadmap over the subtle anatomy of mind or psycho-emotion, and then navigate that with more efficacy, with more ease and grace. And it's, now stepping into a consistent meditation practice, all those years of grounding the physical are just bearing such amazing fruit. Yeah. And now the reflection of the subtle with the gross, or the subtle with the physical. Right. Incredibly powerful. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's like, where are we taking this? And what are we doing? Right. How are we applying? Like, yoga's not the thing. Yoga's the tool. The hammer's not the house. Right. And we need a great hammer. Right. And how fortunate are we to have such an elegantly simple and
Right.
yet powerfully deep and profound
Right.
method
Right.
that's accessible to basically everyone.
Right. I think that, because a lot of this for maybe some people can be a little bit overwhelming, and you use the word demystify a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that's a starting point for all of us, is just get into a practice.
Yeah.
Because everything we're saying will start to make more sense for you, right?
Right.
That's what I love it for as well. It's like, it's the beginning. That's why, yesterday with all those 6 people that came in that were brand new, it's like, whoa, man, that voice that told you to come in today, you started your journey, right? And then just through the physical, all this stuff happens. And so what as teachers, right, what your craft is just, you're I don't want to say gifted. I like to say that, God has favored upon Craig these amazing blessings that I think he's feeling responsible now and bringing to the world, which I know it's going even further because you're on this path of this trajectory. And I think one of the newer things that you're emphasizing as something so important is connection.
Absolutely.
And that's the last 3 days, what all of us teachers on the podium are like, we worked so hard at coming into ourselves, down into the heart to create connection, right? And that's the infectious and the intoxicating and the inspiring stuff for all of us, right? Yeah. So you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, on, the connection process and how maybe...
It's what we were talking about this weekend, and what I mentioned is, currently now perhaps the centerpiece as far as for me the visualization and the idea that expands and opens, and it's the story I was talking about regarding Michelangelo and David. Which, long story short, when I was younger, I visited Florence and I got to see David, the statue created by Michelangelo at the height of his genius and connection to divine. And even at that time in my life, it moved me beyond any other human-made piece of art I've ever encountered. And to this day, I still feel that. And from what I understand and from what I've read, when Michelangelo was asked, during the Renaissance, this transformation in human awareness, considered to be the peak achievement of Renaissance art, how did you create such a magnificent, transcendent, connected to divine piece of art? And according to history, Michelangelo said, I created nothing. I found the piece of marble that contained David within it, and I merely chipped away the pieces that did not belong. And I see that as our art in uncovering our humanity, uncovering the angel, uncovering the beauty within.
Right.
And coming from a guy that's carried around and continues to carry around a lot of extra pieces, right? As I chip away and as others continue to reflect from me to empower me to chip away, and as the pieces fall away on their own because it's shifting from linear to quantum. The idea of what you were talking about earlier about sharing this experience, it's indulgent because with the people I share the experience with, I'm finding that we're all sharing a similar experience, and we're all comparing our notes, and we're all, I mentioned this weekend, it's like we all have a little piece of this cool, a spiritual pirate map that's teaching us where to bury it, how to get more effectively to the treasure. Right?
Yeah.
And as in the recent past, the transformation of focus from here to here is shifting for this, for me, it's the most profound shift I've ever experienced in my life. And immediately, going past the little voice that says, who do you think you are? You're not worthy, you have to be. We're all experiencing this, and it is imperative, doesn't even strike the right chord. It is absolutely essential that we share our experiences and help each other, reflect for one another, guide each other into a more effective way and a more sustainable way of connecting via what we'll call heart.
Right.
Because that's what's going to transform our world.
Right.
It's our connection with self.
Yep.
Our connection with each other.
Yep.
Our connection with earth.
Right.
And what's happened is this sense of purpose that's really emerged, like within the marble, and the framework of what I've been doing with Raja Yoga Academy. Is just it's enabling me. It's giving me an architecture.
Yes.
As does this practice,
Right.
as does this yoga,
Right.
as does this community.
Yeah.
To now give voice to so many of us
Yeah.
who are having a similar experience, in order to expand this and share it with the world.
Yeah.
And showing up is the first step.
Yeah.
Get on the mat.
Yeah.
Getting people into the room.
Right.
Turning them on to
Right.
this technology,
Yeah.
this tool,
Right.
that helps us uncover
Right.
the beauty,
Right.
the angel within,
Right.
and it's just
Right.
what else is there
Yeah,
right now?
there isn't. I
know?
mean, and this is the only way to experience the fullness of your destiny. I mean,
Yeah.
for you personally, but for all of us when we
Yeah.
uncover this, right?
Yeah.
It is it.
Yeah.
We were talking about that this morning. There isn't like something else then you have to do. It's like it's all about, right? So.
Yeah.
I've lately have called you kind of the teacher of teachers, and but maybe you can talk a little bit more about Raja Academy and the curriculums that you have there, so that
Sure.
if people are interested in where they can go, yeah.
Absolutely. I started. I took the step forward, and
Yeah.
I say we because it's a community effort,
Sure.
and I just. One of the most important aspects of what it is that I'm immersing in is understanding that I'm only playing a role. I'm part of it. So I made a decision, and I keep remembering this Goethe quote that translates into English as "Be courageous, and great forces will come to your aid." There's a lot of fear in there, a lot of voice inside saying, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Who do you think you are?" And I stepped into it, and then great forces in the form of amazing humans came to the aid of this movement, this idea. And as we all weathered through a fragmentation of the community that we all hold so dear, what really compelled me to do this was this sense of family, which stems from a bit of a family wound that I've had. So it's like it's healing this wound in myself personally, and also just I remember going to teacher trainings and just having so many people who I loved come be a part of it. It was like a family reunion with purpose.
Right.
So I started doing the Level 1 program, which is a 6-week, 500-hour course that empowers individuals to teach the 26 and 2 in the traditional sense.
Wonderful.
The focus is on therapy, which I was very fortunate to learn by, my mentor, Emmy Cleaves, who had me sit by her side for years in our advanced class and just soak it in and learn. I'm very grateful to Rajashri. I'm grateful to Bikram. I'm grateful to all the teachers I've had that have given me really a glimpse into the essence of what our yoga is about. It's about healing. It's about therapy. So, and as we know, healing isn't necessarily gentle or easy. It can be confrontational. It can be very challenging, and it's guiding people through that challenge. With ease and grace, so they come through the other side with that healing. And then we're also doing level 2s and 3s. Level 2 is a 4-day therapy-based course it's postgraduate instruction for certified instructors. And then following on that, level 2 and 3 go together to form a 10-day program. And then a lot of what we did this weekend was focusing on the concept of transformational leadership, because teachers are educational leaders. And the method of leadership that we engage in is transformational. Very simply put, it's where the teacher and the taught form the teaching. It's not the most indulgent student in that situation in transformational leadership is the teacher, the leader. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm so hungry to grow and to learn and to uncover more and more and more. So that level 2, 3 that takes place in the level 3, it's feedback. Each morning, one of the instructors who's enrolled in the course will teach, we pick a name out of a hat, so you get 6 days to do it. We get 6 instructors, they take the class, and then we engage in feedback like we did this weekend. We develop that model. We work in labs. We continue to uncover how we can connect more effectively with one another and serve one another in this growth. Right? And then now we're developing programs. I'm looking at developing programs for people who are outside of wanting to be yoga teachers or are yoga teachers. just utilizing this grounded transformational modality that we call, the 26 and 2, in order to help people help themselves.
Yeah.
And become more aware.
Yeah.
And connect.
Mm-hmm.
That is the key.
It is the key.
Connecting with this.
And you are so good at putting voice and language to it, because as we were talking a lot today, it's more than just the words, right? It's like we have to know the mechanics, meaning whatever dialogue, but what's, the meaning behind it, the intention behind it, trusting your intuition and knowing, right, that your connection is making a bigger impact than the word maybe itself, right? So
well, it's important to have structure and architecture to build from. From my experience, from this experience, all those years of refining we'll call it the mental architecture. It was almost felt like it was kind of empty. And then as this started flowing, it's like, that's what it's for.
What were we saying yesterday? It is. Like you have the skeleton now you're using the paintbrush, right? And so we have to end here soon, but I think what's important and what we didn't do is how can people get a hold of you?
You can check out what we're doing on rajayogaacademy.com. We've got some programs coming up, and if anybody needs to get in touch with me, Craig at rajayogaacademy.com. And if you want to connect, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, anything, feel free to give me a shout. Feel free to connect, because that's what it's all about. And if you're out there as a leader and a teacher of this yoga, you have my gratitude, you have my respect, you have my love. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And all of you, thank you for practicing yoga. Thank you for showing up, okay? And for those of you teachers, thank you for leading others into the realization of their own self, their own heart, through leading with your own example. It means the world. So I look forward to connecting. I'm just so grateful to be able to serve in any capacity. And I'm just extremely grateful for the process that we're going through right now, this awakening, this opening, this realizing. And I continue to support that in any way, shape, or form that's available. Thank you for this weekend.
Amazing.
Exactly amazing. I really love
I know. I wasn't even tight. I feel like I'm floating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
It just feels so good. So
you're amazing.
Just you're amazing. Love you dearly.
I love what you do here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have something special. We have a really good team too behind the cameras here.
Yeah, she does.
One more thing is, if you're listening and you don't have a yoga practice, there's plenty of yoga studios around the globe now. If you got a little itch, listen to that. Just go. Start.
Practice yoga, and if you can, come to Bikram Yoga San Jose.
Yeah, that for sure. If you're in the area. Thanks, everyone.